Go.
All right, and we are live. Welcome to the weekly BrainDrive development update call. We do this live stream every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So we appreciate you joining us here and participating in the discussion live or also on our forums over at community.braindrive.ai. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. I'm Dave Waring and I handle the operations side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm David Jones, and I handle the tech side of the operations here.
Awesome. So we always start off by just sharing our roadmap, which I had up just a second ago. And now I need to bring back up again. There we go. Okay, so we are executing a five-phase
Yep.
roadmap, which is here on our doc site at docs.brainDrive.ai. Phase zero was our license selection. We've chosen an MIT license because it is the most in line with our four pillars of ownership, freedom, empowerment, and sustainability. It is the most free license, so we've chosen to go with that with the project. Then we're moving on now where we're focused on finalizing our foundation, making it easy to own the four primary components of your AI system, the interface, which is BrainDrive Core plus our chat plugin, the intelligence, lots of great open source AI models
Yep.
out there developed by the open source community that you can now run, the conversation history, which we're building into a full RAG system, and the hosting, of course, which is your computer. And Dave's finishing up the final items on our to-do list for phase one,
Yep.
installers, which he'll talk about today. Then we're moving on to our owner release, and this is all about just polishing up the chat experience within BrainDrive, building out that RAG experience that we talked about, connecting your BrainDrive to other systems, and really just making it really easy and powerful to own your own personal AI system. Before we move on to our build phase, which is leveraging the modular architecture that Dave's developed for builders to make it easy for people to build on top of BrainDrive, use plugins to modify your system, customize your system, build custom applications on top of BrainDrive. You can think about BrainDrive as the WordPress of AI. And then phase four, our entrepreneur release. Now that people can own and build on top of their own AI system, they can now benefit from their own AI system by building an ecosystem and an economy on top of BrainDrive, just like the WordPress community is built on top of WordPress, so that we all can benefit from the value that we're creating instead of being extracted by big tech platforms. And then the final phase is community acceleration, where all this comes together
Yep.
and we really accelerate our move towards building that superior user-owned alternative by leveraging the community. There's a lot more talent, capital, et cetera, outside of these big tech companies than there is within them, and this is how we're going to really surpass these big tech AI platforms.
But
So if
even
you're in,
use the big tech,
yeah,
because if
yep.
they, I mean, OpenAI, Claude, doesn't matter who you are, you come up with a great model, and we'll use Open Router, whatever, to connect to them with plugins, so you can do whatever you want with whatever model you want.
Yep. And so you're able to just like I like to think about that as like you use other people's
Yep.
intelligences, right? But the main thing is you keep the memory, you keep the interface, so you keep control of everything, which is great. So yeah, so with that, we'll kick it off with our progress on items from last week, and then we'll follow that up with priorities for the coming week. And then if we have time, we always do one big picture topic, which is we're deep in roadmap prioritization right now, so we'll keep focus on that. And Dave will kick us off with the tech update.
Okay, so last week was basically installers, installers, and installers. We selected to go with both Mac and Windows right now as a priority, mainly because our first line of users are going to come from those two operating systems. And to me, if you're on Ubuntu or whatever Linux OS and you see the install script that you have to walk through to install this, this is a no-brainer. You You do harder just logging or trying to get it so you can do SSH with auto logins type stuff like that. So that if you're on a Linux system, you're already covered. You can install this now and it works. For everyone else, we have installers we're trying to kick off on. And first, let me say we will eventually do Ubuntu, but they're just not the priority who needs it right now. It is going to be Mac and Windows. So with that, uh, let me share my screen first. That helps out better. Of course, let's go sharing. Let's go to this one. There we go. Here is the installer for the Windows. Right now, Windows on my system takes about 5 minutes and 30 minutes to install. We have
Five
a
minutes and 30 seconds, right?
5 minutes and 30 seconds. Did I say something? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
5 minutes and 30 seconds. It does have several advanced features in the settings already. Most of them are working, such as you can determine where you wish to install this at. You can not only select what IP you want these to be turned on at, what port. For the users that do not understand ports, I've went ahead and also added a little indication right here that tells you whether it's in use or not in use right now. So this will be like if you're trying to install this for the first time and you see 8005's already taken, you will need to pick another port or wonder, do you have BrainDrive installed another way on this or something like that? Because both ports are taken. It's kind of a weird selection right there. But yes, I do have BrainDrive running on the background like that just to show that this works that way. If they were both available, it'll say available and it'll be green. So you're good to go. But you easily make the selection. These are more for things to come in the future, except for where the advanced, where you can actually determine where your BrainDrive database exists. And this could be you want it stored somewhere separately so that let's say you have BrainDrive running in Docker or whatever, you could have your database somewhere else. So that if you lose your Docker, you still have all your database stuff. You can just move it into another install of BrainDrive and it'll start to kick up. So you don't lose your data and information.
Awesome,
You,
but if you're just a normal user, you probably don't have anything running on those ports because
yep.
you're not running things locally normally, and you just click install basically, right? And it
Exactly. You
runs.
can, yeah, you do not even have to hit settings if you do not want to. Settings are there for to appease the people who know what they're doing a little bit more, or like me. The installer benefits me because once I get to a certain place of doing a feature, I may need to do a test install. So I can change the ports, throw it off to the side, let it run and do its thing, come back to it 6 minutes later to see if it works right. And so it helps me as a developer in addition to helping every user. So
Cool.
that's why certain things went into
So
it
you can
like,
have multiple brain drives
yep,
running now on the same computer as well,
yes,
right? Because you can
yep,
just choose the different ports, but you can still have them all using the same Olama
yep.
server.
They would you like most of my brain drives that I have running, and I have four different ones, all mostly connect to the same Olama server that sits off on an Ubuntu server. Each one has their own little Olama, so I can cross check and do little weird things just to see how it runs. But most of them hit the same Olama server because it has the same 13 models on it, and I can just interchange and don't blink. And that way I can verify, is BrainDrive working right here on another system, and we get less chances of me saying, "Hey, this works great on my system." Those kind of things, because I can test it on multiple systems, multiple different ways. Um, and this is where it's like we were talking last week. I already run multi-user just to kind of play with that and get it how that's going to work. And then because I'm on other systems, I can start doing security checks on the API to make sure we're a little bit locked harder on that. The things that I knew would eventually come, and we're talking about this week because we're getting ready to walk right into them. It puts us in a better position to handle that kind of stuff. Going
Great.
to the next side, let's go. Oh, I will move
And
this.
before you click off of this one, Dave,
Yep.
so it checks to see if your system has Olama installed, and if not, the install button will light up. Is that how this works?
No, not great. What it's checking is in settings right here.
Yep.
Okay, that's where it's checking to see if it is installed for here.
Okay.
Okay. The port usage is just determining, do you have that port available? So don't those two are not going to get confused. if you have BrainDrive installed somewhere else on your system, let's say another hard drive, for lack of better, for just so everybody understands, and you had it on a different ports and everything like that, it would allow you to install. The only thing this is checking is this actual directory, wherever you have it at, and basically in that dist, let me, I
I'm
probably,
talking about
yeah.
the Olama install on the right
Oh, the
hand side.
Olama, this is
Yeah.
check. Okay, that checks on the IP local host, and it checks for 11.434,
Right. And
which
if
is
you
the,
don't have it, then it's gonna light
yep,
up.
yep. If you do not have, and that will be the confusing part is because like sometimes your alarm is not running. Okay. There's no other real way for it to check between all the OSs except for the port. So the only thing that's doing is it checks the port. If the port is taken and it says, hey, alarm is running, fine. If it's not up, it will let you try to install if you want, which will just do an update on you.
Right.
So that it's just if you want to use it to an update to do an update, you could do
And
it.
most people, if they have Olama, they likely know they have Olama. So for most people, just makes it easier for them
Yep.
to install. And it's all
Yeah.
about making this process as easy as possible for
Yep.
people.
So you get the screen shows up and it says, "Hey, if you don't have a llama, you don't have to worry about what is a llama, where do I get it, how do I install it." You just press install, and it'll go out to the internet. It will grab it for you from their site. We're not holding our own or some special version. It downloads theirs,
Yep.
shows you the same screens that they have because it's their install, and then you install it and you're up and running. And then if they have their own update process, so if you wish to follow along through them, that's no problem.
And once I install this, do I get an icon
Yep,
somewhere? Or do I
yep.
just
There's
go?
an icon on your desktop. I need to verify on Mac for that, just simply because it has different hoops and stuff like that. But I know in Windows, I get an icon on my desktop. I'm pretty certain I did see it on the Mac. I just off the top of my
And
head,
then you'll click Start Brain Drive once it's installed, or if you want to update, if there's an update to be
yep.
had, you can update right there,
Yep. Yep.
which is
And then
awesome.
and if you come back to your machine tomorrow, as you said, there's a desktop on your icon. It will bring this up for you. You can do an update then if it's lit up update. Right here would be a message if the updater itself had an update so that you can keep current with the current version. Let's say we add features to it, better things to determine what's going on. We find a bug, we fix it. You'll be able to keep your installer up to date very easily through the same interface as well. And then you just start BrainDrive.
Awesome.
We go
Really,
to the Mac version, which is right here. It's using dark hues. I don't know why the Mac decided that. Maybe I selected dark hues in Mac. I'm not sure. I'm not a Mac user by nature. I am learning as I go.
Mac
Um,
usually just defaults to dark mode.
Okay, is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when doing it, it wanted to default to some odd colors. I didn't like it, so we just forced a different change. And if later, and that allowed me to kind of put the to colors in a different structure. And so now, if I want to change it later, I can go through and do that. Due to some of the GUI things, I had to change some of the lineups, as you can see here, with how the buttons are. Because on the let's go. Oh, there we go. If you'll see, we had enough room. We could control certain things a little better in Windows than in Mac, but I kept it the same flavor. So basically, if you're expecting four buttons, there are four buttons still, type thing. It installs much faster on the Mac, I will say this. It was like bang, bang, done. So
And
overall,
why do you think that is?
honestly, I think just better hardware. There's because Mac, it really just, I mean, this is a mini Mac too. So it's not like this isn't the M5 or any stuff like that. And this thing just sings. I'll be if I could get my fingers used to what it should be doing after 4 decades of Windows, and then understand it a little better because it's like a combination of there's a lot of Linux underneath there, you could tell, but at the same time, there's just enough quirks you have to learn. It's like learning a programming language. It's like the syntax is always the easy part. Learn the quirks of the language is what takes time and stuff like that. So this is where Dave comes in handy because it's like we have to get an developer ID for this. I had trouble just getting an Apple ID. Never mind anything beyond that. So it was like I got to say, hey, Dave, you need to do this part because this could take me 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, it might take 3 weeks anyway because of the submission process, but we're in the queue at least.
Yeah, but at least I know it's going down the right path versus where if I did because like when I did the Apple ID, I have found probably the 15 ways to fail, and I still don't know how to succeed there. But it doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me because it's like I can code, I have it working, I can move forward, and that's my priority on this.
So you have to on Mac, even though we're not like really in the App Store, right? Like we're
Yeah,
not, we're just want to be able to just install something on Mac, right?
Max has I'll call it a system, and it's called Gatekeeper. And what Gatekeeper determines if something is an acceptable application to Apple.
Yeah,
And you get there by having a developer ID and it's
got it.
signed. And so when
Yep.
it installs, it checks with Gatekeeper and it's like, or when it runs, sorry, not just installs, and Gatekeeper will give it a yay or nay. If you don't have the developer ID, the user has to jump through a few hoops to make it happen. And so rather than do that, we just I believe it's free or whatever.
It
Um, I,
is,
I
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
get the
actually,
developer
no, I
ID.
think it's actually $99 a year, but
Oh, is
we'll
it
suck
okay?
it up. Yep.
But yeah, for Katie or there's a good group, good sized group. I know every AI forum. There's a lot of people on Mac,
Oh
and
yeah.
so if if this makes it easier for
I think
and
if you're tech forward, like, but you're not a developer, you're 9 out of 10 times on
yeah,
Mac.
there are just too many people on Macs for me to ignore going that extra step. To me, it's like
Yeah.
it's like
Okay,
if you're doing Android, you'd go through the Google Play stuff.
so Mac is going to be until we basically get approved as a developer. Before that's live, is Windows live now, or can
When
people
no,
start?
not completely live because I have to push through, but to both of these through the same process, which I'm finishing up today, and that is the installers work itself, but how they update, and because how they update is handled through versioning and stuff like that. I figured out what I wanted to do late Friday, so I started working on that over the weekend. And I just have to run it through this testing to make sure that when you run this, it checks to install correctly that it is installed correctly. It checks to make sure if there's an update available on the installer itself, and then handles that changeover of grabbing the new update, putting it onto your system, and then rerunning that process again. That's the only thing left. The installers themselves in both Mac and Windows do run.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
So
we'll be able should be able to install on Windows this week,
yeah,
and then
this week.
whenever we
Yeah.
get back from the developer program from Apple.
Yeah, my key thing though is at this point is making sure both follow the same workflow so that if something goes array, just because whatever happens in development, somebody gets, both of them have the same process. So we're just kind of marching down the same line.
Awesome. Good stuff. That's
There we go.
exciting. That's really kind of the last piece to have like the foundation
Yep,
there, and then it's just really about polishing.
a lot of polishing. A lot. That's our
Yeah.
next conversation. I have tons on my list.
Okay, good. All right, great. So, other updates from last week's progress. Navneet posted a video on the forum. Um, Boo. Actually, he didn't post it on the forum. He posted on YouTube, and it should have been on the forum. But actually, I don't want to go to YouTube and mess up our live stream.
Yep.
But basically, if you go to the BrainDrive YouTube channel, you can see the model match full walkthrough of how model match is our attempt to make it easier to choose the best open source model for your specific use case. And we have an evaluation system that Navneet built for us that's pretty sophisticated and recommendations for 5 use cases right now. And we're looking for feedback on that. I'll make sure that video gets added to the forum later today. And it's also on our YouTube channel. And a big update from last week is we have now chat with documents are the start of our RAG system live on my brain drive. So this has been a long time coming. We have a little more polishing to do here around responsiveness, etc. But I've uploaded 3 files related to brain drive here. to BrainDrive. And then if I ask what is BrainDrive, takes a second for the model to load
Yeah.
up the first time. And hopefully it will load up. There we
There we go.
go.
Yep.
And then you get a good solid answer from the documentation that we've added here that's grounded in that. And I say, is BrainDrive open source? So you can see that once that's
Yep.
um, up and running, it's a lot faster.
Yeah.
So this is all running locally. Actually, the embedding model is running on the cloud still for my machine. That's the last piece, but it's a 335 million parameter model. So I'm just waiting for Beck to get back to me on a question around settings, and that'll be running here locally as well. So that's going to be a fully local RAG system, which is pretty exciting because if you,
How big did you say the embedding model was?
I think
Because
it
I
was
know.
335 million
Okay,
parameter.
million. Okay, yeah, yeah. My brain heard billion because it's
Yeah,
always okay. Don't just making sure because if
yeah.
anybody caught
Well, it's
that, they'd be
interesting
like,
because it's called the large, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's 300. And it downloaded I added it to
yeah,
Olam and it downloaded in like a
yeah. The
minute.
embedding
So,
models are normally small. That's why I was kind of like, I
yeah.
was,
Yep. So that's really exciting. We've got a whole video up on that on the forum where Beck took Dave and I through that, and I sort
yep,
of gave the background on all the work that's been done on that. So, pretty excited to have that live on the system now. On my side, we talked last week about building out our first use case. So Y detector, and I built this website with Codex, and it's a multi-agent system where there's a coach that takes you through finding your why, and then there's an evaluator that comes in at each phase to make sure that the right questions have been asked and enough follow-ups through this process. So if you'd like to try this out, it is live at ydetector.com. We'll be looking for people to test that out before putting the use case live on
yep.
BrainDrive, which you'll have all your context history there. This runs off of Anthropic's API, but we will have a local version for it as well
Yep.
eventually. So I was pretty pleased with how quickly
Yeah.
Claude did everything. So
From a
the code,
non-developer to basically a finished application, right?
yeah.
Hey,
Pretty cool. So I spent a fair amount of time on that last week and pretty excited about that because also I think the process that I used to create this use case can be
yep.
used to create many other use cases to add value to BrainDrive. So that'll be cool. Okay, so that's that. And what happened to my agenda? Here we go. And then the Apple development submission, and that required submitting some financial reports because we need a Dun and Bradstreet number. And up to this point, because we haven't launched any revenue producing products yet, I've just been keeping it in a spreadsheet, and that wasn't enough. So I took this as an opportunity to start getting our books straight, and I have a bookkeeper helping out now on a just a project basis just to get everything straight there. So I spent some time on that, and that was pretty much my week last week. Um, all right, so here we go for next week. Um, I actually think the big picture topic comes before this for this week's conversation. I think the big picture
Yeah.
topic comes before. So I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at the document that I sent over.
No, I have not. I've been
Okay,
pushing, but
that's
we'll see.
fine.
This will be fun because this will tell me where, because my brain was already on two different big pictures already coming. And
Yeah.
so, hey, we'll see how fast these line up, or are we just
Yeah,
on left field?
so at part of building a superior user-owned
Yep,
alternative to big tech AI systems is having a mission-aligned revenue model that enables the funding of, in particular, the open source side of this. And I think
yep,
this is where a lot of projects run into problems is, they don't have a funding source, and that really does not allow them to incentivize and scale beyond a hobby project. And any of the big, well-known open source projects from WordPress to Linux to, any of the other ones that you can think of that are big, usually share one thing in common, which is they have some sort of
Yep.
revenue model that funds them, whether that's directly from the open source project or in Linux's case, Red Hat and, et cetera. So Dave and I have been thinking through a revenue model for BrainDrive. And, I think long term, we're both aligned that managed hosting is probably the most no-brainer mission aligned revenue model because basically you can always run it for free locally on your computer,
Yep.
and that's great. And if that's what you want to do, fantastic. We're all about it. That's a big part of our mission. But there are going to be those people that want to have a cloud run version of
Hmm.
BrainDrive that they still have ownership and control over. Again, here, similar to WordPress. You
Yep.
can move it around, you can exit to self-hosting, you can move it to another host. You still own and control it, but it's the hosting is handled by a company, which, BrainDrive would be one of the companies and hopefully many companies in the future that offers this type of hosting. Same thing, same concept as WordPress.
Yeah,
I
and
think,
not to
yeah,
interrupt like that, but one of the key, just in case anybody listens and watches, because I know we both know from local llama, people see MIT license, and if it doesn't have it, they go, "I'm out."
yeah,
So, everybody listen really quick. No matter what version we have, there will be an export button. If you want your data, you'll be able to click export. Doesn't matter whether you're on hosting, cloud, managed, or local. You can pull your data out, go to a local version or go to a hosted version and then import it. That is in all our plan. That has been a mainstay right there. So don't worry that if you went one version, you're locked in against other versions.
yeah.
You'll
And
be
I
able
mean,
to.
it's not really a version either, right? It's
What?
not
Oh, true.
different
No, yeah, true.
versions,
No,
right?
whichever style of
Yeah.
connection you
It's
wish to
the
use
same
BrainDrive.
system. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
will be able to export your data and move it in. The only thing that we foresee will be when you get to shared hosting, not all plugins would be allowed simply because of we have to then protect everybody evenly. If you're on
Right.
your own local, we've always said wild wild west. If somebody develops Yahoo plugin number 405, you love it, you want to install it, go. Have a nice
Right.
day. We're not going to babysit you. When you get to shared hosting, we have to protect everybody.
Yep.
And that's our clause, just basically under privacy and security. So now
Cool.
go. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that just anybody went, I'm out.
Right, but it's not a different system. It's the
Yep.
same system, just like WordPress.
Yep.
But I think, one of the conversations we've had is, okay, well, how long is it going to be before we can actually offer this service with enough value that people want to pay for it? And I think up until recently, we were thinking we may need to take a detour to some use case specific stuff like the Y-Finder thing and maybe charge for that as like a separate thing, but it also markets BrainDrive, the
Yep.
local version, to get user base for that, etc. So we've talked about, kind of these detours still on the route to manage hosting as the long-term revenue play. Um, you know, and adding a lot more use cases, et cetera. But, after discussing this in detail on Friday, the two of us, and thinking about it over the weekend, I keep coming back to when we started this process, what we believed was a locally running MIT licensed AI system with a solid RAG setup is what everybody wants,
Yep.
and it's what no one has.
Yep.
And I don't think that's really changed since we started this process. There's not really a really high-end professional grade MIT licensed AI system, meaning you completely own it and control it, and you're free to do whatever you want with it, that has a really solid RAG setup. Doesn't exist.
Yep. Not like what you just demonstrated even today. Nobody can pull that off every time.
Right.
And that way, and everybody should know those weren't coached questions or anything like that. It's like, hey, he has three documents in there and you go.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that a lot has changed in the open AIs and Claudes and,
Mhm.
the big tech AI system world in terms of adding all these bells and whistles and video and images and blah, blah, blah. But like I think the average local AI person, what they really still want is make it easy for me to chat with my own documents
Yep.
and not feed all my information to these big tech companies and
Yep.
also get locked into their systems. And we're almost there. I mean, I think the system BrainDrive is very close, and I think we're pretty close on the RAG side to having something, but I think there's more work to do on the RAG
Yeah.
side. Um, but and I think people are going to be excited about that. That's number one. The second thing is, I think there's going to be enough people, if people are excited about, like we think they will be, an MIT system that not only has what we originally set out to build, which is the MIT licensed high quality polished interface with a solid RAG system that runs locally for free,
Yep.
but also has the ability to build on top of it,
Yep.
right? Which is an additional thing that we don't even think people need to be excited, right? That's an additional
Yeah.
thing. And we're sort of thinking about the future there. But that's also really exciting. So those three things I think people will be excited about. And if they are, I think there'll be enough of those people that are interested in having a hosted version of this that we can, start testing out a very direct, or I call no detour,
Yep.
revenue strategy that's mission aligned, where we're just monetizing exactly what we're offering on a local
Yep.
basis for free as a hosted product, which is kind of always what the plan was. And, another thing that got me, thinking about this again is like the Y-Finder thing was pretty easy, but it still like knocked out a week of my time basically that
Yep.
could have been spent evaluating RAG
Yeah.
and doing things that are more related to the foundation of the system.
Mhm.
And the last thing I'll say, and then I'll shut up and let you talk, is worst case scenario, we're wrong, and there's not enough people that either the system as the foundation system, that it resonates with, or that, the hosting resonates enough for people to pay. And we need to build more value into the system in order for people to pay and feel good about that in a mission aligned way. We still need this foundation to
Yep.
add that additional value. So we're still down the exact same road at that point. We just may have a little further to go.
Yeah.
Um, so this is what I came to the conclusion of, and I'm interested to hear what you thought about over the weekend was let's just go right at it. There's no reason to do all this other stuff. Like there's plenty of work for you to do on the polish side and get involved with the rag stuff more. There's plenty of work for me to do to market the foundation that
Yep.
you've built. Why work on anything else? And I think if it like we have, almost a year
Hmm.
to get that working and also to pivot into other things if
Yep.
after 3 or 4 months it looks like it's not panning out like we want.
So mine is multi-user backend security, refactor, and API checking.
Yeah. Which is all the stuff we would need to do
Yep,
managed hosting, right?
Yeah, exactly. That was my thing. Because like, it doesn't matter what, like I say, the 3 or 4 month plan, and as we said before, it's like we'll know in 3 or 4 months whether we need to veer a little bit. Do we need to hard focus? Do we need to hyper focus, or some change is necessary? It'll be very quickly. We'll know that needs to happen. But no matter what, at that point, if we have the multi-user, the back end is secure, locked in, then whatever pivot we need to make at that point, and let's say we'll bring up the Y detector just because you already said it like that and it's out there. If let's say we decide, okay, Y detector, we have a lot of users wanting it, but they don't want to have a whole system. They want to just be hyper focused on Y detector, and we have the back end now locked in, multi-user, the security is there. We could use BrainDrive's back end and put the Y detector's front end on it. You would not even know as a user that you're using BrainDrive. So every piece of work that we do here would simply just echo forward and be scalable and reusable to us.
Yeah, and from my perspective, from a marketing perspective, marketing the RAG, like a local AI
Yep.
system that's, does really good RAG,
Yep.
we want to be known as the user-owned AI
Yep.
system, and that's a lot easier. like that message is a lot more focused around that than all these use cases,
Hmm.
right? In the future, though, I think the use cases become a marketing engine,
Yep.
you know,
To get there.
for the managed hosting
Yep.
product, right?
Yep.
So initially people come in for the user ownership, for the privacy, et cetera, because they're already in that headspace.
Hmm.
In the future, that's like a bonus. You know, it's like not only do you get these great use cases, but like you own and control everything. And, you know, so these people come to the freedom, you know, ownership, control, building on top of your AI system and understanding that through the brain drive journey, basically, instead of there already being there.
And the big difference between basically every other aggregator that exists out there, because they all do, is you have on those systems, you have a small team responsible for whatever feature you're going to get. And they're going to spoon feed you. You're not going to be able to determine what's for dinner or anything like that. BrainDrive open with the plug-in system that's there. If you want to have your own plug-in systems, you can do a plug-in use cases. You're able to do it. If you're
Right.
on the private and the shared, you develop a plug-in you think everybody else would love to have. You just put it through quality control as we've discussed in previous videos and make your way onto there, and then everybody can enjoy it, or you can just enjoy it. It's your
Yeah.
choice. So it's like once this gets out there, this becomes a no-brainer compared to even, let's say, OpenAI. Because OpenAI, it's like you got a list. If your OpenAI is like mine, I have a list of chats that are just 10 miles long. I couldn't even get to the end of the scroll anymore. And when I do an export, it's about 3 billion right now. It's that bad. But it's like in BrainDrive, I could create my own plugin to help me manage my conversations better. And to be truthful, I want to make it so that I can export out of BrainDrive or OpenAI stuff and put it into BrainDrive because we all follow the same kind of style of doing things. I don't
Right.
see any reason for it not to be possible. So it's like every door becomes open rather than closed.
And you know, this by putting it out there like a really solid foundation, it gives the community the opportunity to come up with use cases and
Yep.
sort of guide the future development of where we go with building the house on top, building the user-owned house on top of this user-owned foundation.
Yep.
All right, great.
Yep.
So we're already
We're
on the same
yeah,
page.
exactly. I didn't need to read the document.
So
I will though, but
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I
yeah.
mean, basically, yeah, it's all there. Okay, so I'm gonna move Linux installer down to build just for
Yeah.
now because I don't think we. And these are basically this week. F
Yep.
Finishing off these would be a big priority for
Yeah,
this week.
I'm not gonna I'll make sure that the Mac completely works on mine, and then we'll just wait for however long the development ID, because that's just a build process. I put the ID number inside the build process, it signs it, and then I move it up. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, but definitely probably by today, I'll have everything tested. I'll feel confident, and I'll just move them up, and then I will move my repo over to BrainDrive.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So then, for you, what I have, and this may need to be shifted around a little bit based on what you have. I just went through I went through the backlog and I just put everything as next that I felt like we still need to work on
Yep,
before we shift uh to the managed hosting
yep.
stuff. And this is what I have. So this was settings page browser refresh issue. Do you remember what this is?
That's probably caching. It deals with caching.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the Olama model manage. This is the little engine that needs to be created to do the management of,
Jobs and tasks.
yep, jobs and tasks. Moving Olama to a
Dumb.
separate plugin is not necessarily necessary, but I feel like you've already done most of the work for
No, this
this.
is done.
Oh, this is done.
This is done.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, this was what we talked about your issue that you had before this happened. This conversation happened off camera. Dave had a little white window and he's caught between versions, and this is what I was trying to explain. He's caught between that the Olama plugin has its own plugin system now, and everything's been separated out, and he's just caught between for
Okay. All right, cool. So I'll mark that
yep.
done. Awesome. Love marking things done. I thought you'd put that on pause, but we're
No, no,
almost
no.
done.
That was done and complete, and I'm pretty sure I even moved them all on BrainDrive repo.
Sweet.
Yep.
All right. So there's an issue, it seems like, with open router models not responding.
I had that happen to me also, and I was unaware because I don't use OpenRouter a lot. I did not know, was it a model issue? Because OpenRouter is basically just an aggregate or a bridge between BrainDrive and who's ever hosting the model. So I did not know if this was just an OpenRouter issue yet, but hey, we need to have it on there so we know the correct answer to that one.
Yep. Okay, cool. So, and I think we should fix that before we move because I feel like this is one of those things like while you're working on all the managed hosting stuff, if
Mhm.
we have these last few things, under, wrapped up,
Yep,
like I can really be hitting hard,
yep.
promoting the local system. Um, so mobile responsiveness.
Definitely has to happen before we get to multi-user and hosting because if you're the minute we hit hosting, somebody's on a phone using this. So,
Yep. Desktop responsiveness on page builder, laptop.
oh, okay, yeah, that goes under the same level of responsiveness as the mobile.
Okay.
Same issue.
And then this is the job thing that we already talked about is
Yep,
also part of that. I feel like you've done this now too, right? Adding a page in Persona to BrainDrive one-click
yep,
install.
yep. Nope, that all happens.
Awesome. So
Yeah,
you're
because
already
those are
you're already
handled
well on the
inside.
way
Yeah,
with your list.
those are all handled inside the actual plugin install. So yeah,
That's going to be awesome for people. And then this is so basically before we get to this,
yep.
um, it doesn't feel like there's all that much here.
Nope, nope. Those are. I don't want to. None of those items, what I would say, are big as in even occupying an entire week.
Is
There's
there
just a
anything that's not on this list that you
um.
feel like we need to knock out before we move to all the managed hosting, the stuff that's necessary for that?
Yeah, we hinted at it last week, and we get to the caching. This is going to happen at the same time. We talked about last week plugins calling other plugins.
Okay.
If you and we were talking about that within the RAG system especially.
Yeah.
So the I already did some of the design work on for that. That would encompass caching as well at the same time. So those two would come together. When we did caching, we would also deal with plugins calling plugins.
And what is plugins calling plugins?
Basically, let's say you have I'll take RAG for because we use it as an example. Right now, RAG is its own chat window. But we established that when we did our test last week and Beck was on the call, that rather than Beck trying to keep up in that plugin with the BrainDrive chat, which I've done a lot of work to make sure it runs smoothly, less quirks and stuff like that, that what if we could just call the components in Beck's plugin in BrainDrive with chat? Or vice versa. He just pulls this whole plugin and just calls what he needs. And I call this calling plugins because what would happen is there would be like a little button that says boom and it would show you what documents you have, what projects you have available in the RAG system. So where you have like the three different groups that are currently available, you'd be able to select the one you want to use and it'll be right there in the same system. And then when you do your chat in BrainDrive with chat, it would automatically go, okay, you've selected to use a chat with documents. So rather than have to go to the whole other side, whole other plugin and page, it would simply go, okay, I'm going to go chat with documents. I'm going to grab the context, bring it back, and then take this and go to the model, and we're going to get you a response back that you want.
Okay, so basically this is we looked at I'm going to say back to you
Yep,
what I think you just said. So we looked at the chat with documents plugin. You can see it here.
Yep.
this is the AI chat plugin, which is
Yep.
beautiful. Chat with documents, this doesn't work. The functionality is
Yep.
good, but the look and feel of it, um, is not up to this standard. So
So
what
right.
you're saying is you could, like Beck, instead of having to build out his own chat,
Yep.
is just going to be able to call this chat and only build in
Yep.
the components that he needs to build in. Is that
Exactly.
right?
So like right there, the collect what collections are available, that would be one model screen that Beck would design because he doesn't need to do an entire plugin for an entire page.
Right.
And chat with documents, we would code that to go, hey, if a plugin's installed that has a certain, we'll call it a qualifier that says I work within chat with documents. Or no, I'm sorry, I work within BrainDrive chat.
Yep.
Icon would populate. What open? No, I wouldn't go. Open AI. They're down at the bottom when they use a connector. They use the kind of similar technology in the fact of it determines what connectors do I have available. I'm going to show you these. We would do the same thing. What connectors do we have available? Oh, we have chat with documents. So let's go ahead and light this up. When you light it up, it'll give you a list. Hey, you have these projects, or you want to create a new one. It'll show you the dialogue that Beck did for his system. You can fill it, put in whatever documents you want to do. It'll go through the whole processing and it'll say, hey, your project's available to chat
Okay. And so basically there'll be two options for developers.
with.
If I want to build another chat with documents,
Yep.
I can build a whole plugin that has a chat interface and everything, and it
Yep.
looks different. And my chat interface, is circular instead of square or something, right?
Exactly.
Um, and that's like just a different plugin and it's great and go have a nice day. Or I can say, I really like the AI chat plugin, so I'm going to call those components into my plugin so I don't have to develop that separately.
Well, it'd be almost in reverse. It'd be we've developed BrainDrive chat to have a connector.
I
So
see.
you would say, okay, instead of developing the entire chat experience, I'm going to develop a connector for you to connect to.
Okay, and if someone else had another type of plugin and I'm a developer and I come on and say, hey, I really love your plugin, would you be willing to put a connector on that?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they say,
Or Or vice versa. Let's say they develop the connector code for that one and they do a PR to his project and say, hey, I like your code. I'm not trying to take your code. I did a PR for you. If you could approve this, I can do what I want to hear.
yeah. So this makes the plugins composable with themselves,
Yep.
which is really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And this was like not something not thought of. It was like we did the plugin system that's in there almost on day one.
Yeah.
It was like, and it's never been recoded. I knew this day was coming. So it was like we have to get some maturity though to figure out what the real system is going to need to look like, what it's going to need to do, and we're there. So at the same time, I can handle the caching thing too.
This seems like a much bigger lift though than the other
Not
things
really.
that
It isn't. It really. It seems like it. This is going to take a few days. Yes. It just because the structure's already there. The entire the plot. It's. I know the data coming in. I know the data going out. You just need to replace the inside right there, and then on top of it, say let the plugins know you have a way to connect to other plugins now and use and utilize the components within there.
Okay, amazing. So should Beck wait for you to do this before he cleans up the look and
Well,
feel of
I thought
his?
we agreed on Friday that he would work on the functionality aspects and not the tweaking of the disc of
Yeah, we
the
did.
outside. Exactly. And I would maintain with that right there because as soon as I get done redoing this, he will have a different way to apply his functionality.
Okay. Yeah, we were going to confirm that
Yep.
today, but I
Yep.
will confirm that in the forum. All right, amazing. And we're calling this what
I call
again?
it I was just plugins calling plugins.
Okay.
But basically this will be refactoring the plugin engine.
And you think that's a short thing. All right.
It's not guesswork like when I originally did it, because when I originally did it, it was like not many people have ever touched this type of code, and I was like, that's going to take a little time for me to figure out exactly the nuances. I got the nuances done.
All right. Cool. So then the other big thing on here is like, I don't think you need to necessarily take over the work here, but I think before we move to managed hosting,
Yeah.
now that, and this is on the BrainDrive, like this is now a BrainDrive official plugin.
Yep.
So I think you should kind of lead that.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how, because there'll be two different ways, of course, or three different ways. You have local, you run it, we need to make sure it works. We have the cloud, which will say this is basically you having your own infrastructure. You have your own copy of it. You just run it on the internet, the cloud, and nobody's else is attached to it except for who you want to give authorization to.
Yeah.
And then that's one system. And then the third system is it's like shared hosting on a website. You're one of 50 people on there. So whatever system we go with has to handle all three, almost in the same instance and like that. So when we get to the third one, the RAG system has the same issues I'll call with that BrainDrive has. We need to go through it. We need to make sure that Billy does not see Sally's data. No documents, cross the streams and stuff like that. It's completely private and secure. And so he has the same due diligence that we have, which will be I have.
Okay. So, but this still seems like a relatively short list.
Yeah. Yep.
And these seem like the right things to you to work on before we move to managed hosting.
Correct. And because a lot of some of these are front end, and so that we're wrapping up because we need them wrapped up, mobile responsiveness and stuff like that. Those things just need to happen before we get here. Because if we get here and we're not there, we don't have the mobile responsiveness. We'll have people connect and go, "That's crap." So we're going to iron them out first, and then yeah, so we'll be good. And the rest of it's just refactoring, which hey only helps us with the whole back end refactoring and security, anyways.
Amazing. All right. So for me, like I think we're going to be able to put this out there to some Windows users this week.
Yep.
So I want to work on that and I need to warm back up my social posting and all that type of stuff. So that's exciting. All right, cool. Anything else you want to talk about for this week?
Probably just I think we'll be talking about MCP soon.
Okay.
More than you really, because we had just Phil, we had a conversation Friday about MCP, and we Beck and I were both caught off guard as normal. So I believe we answered questions incorrectly.
Okay.
And next week will be better because I'll have a little case study better shown, not in BrainDrive. It was just kind of a little, let's see how MCP works for real versus reading an article. And so I've already started working on the code and how MCP works, and I do believe it has a place in BrainDrive.
Well, I mean, technically, and again, I don't think we need to delay because of this, but the it's these four
Yep,
components plus the connections,
yep,
right? Is really what we're talking about as the foundation. So if we have the ability to connect your brain drive, if we have those four
yep.
things plus the ability to connect,
Well,
that's it.
exactly. Plus, like the example that I'm kind of moving towards in my own way is almost like your content workflow. It has 19 steps. But when I really look at your 19 steps, a lot of them are interchangeable with other things. So if somebody developed your workflow, then developed the MCP servers to handle each of those aspects. To handle like I would need a title for this. I need to come up with content. I need an outline. I need all like that. Then when you develop a second system that utilizes, hey, you need an outline for this content, you've already done this work. It's already been bulletproofed. It's already matured. So you have scalability and reusability in this same bang. And it works a little different than what we had like described because we were comparing it to an API call and not even close. When you see this
Okay.
thing, and that's what I say, we'll do this any next
Yeah.
Monday, like that.
I was gonna say we're coming up on the
Yep.
hour, and I'm gonna probably need an hour to fully
Yep,
digest that.
yep.
So,
Because because my thing is not just to talk. We're gonna have code. We're gonna have
oh, amazing.
examples. Exactly. We'll have them on the repo so that people can come in and get their more than just what normal people do. Because I don't ever do
Awesome.
anything
And
simple.
that's like another thing that just, not only do we have the original thing that we think people will be excited about,
Yep.
but we also have the ability to build and customize. We also have this new thing you're talking about
Yep.
and like a lot of activity around showing that while we're really excited about the foundation, this is just the foundation and we're got
Yep.
a real vision for building this
There are over
user-owned
2,000 MCP servers that you would be able to utilize. And so it's just a matter of this will come from Navneet. We're not good thing we have a few minutes. He might want to look at doing a best model use case for tool calling models.
tool calling models.
Yep, because
Okay.
when we head down Met MCP, that's what we're utilizing.
Got it. All right. Unless there's anything else, we'll
Nope.
leave it there for this week. Like I said at the beginning of the call, our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. We do these dev calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We'd love it if you join us and participate here live or over on the forums where I post the recordings in the afternoon once they finish processing at community.braindrive.ai. And we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.